What's up guys, RoyalZProduction here, and today we're going to be talking about my favorite camera lenses that I like to use when shooting music videos, and for the most part the lenses that are always in my camera bag whenever I leave for a music video shoot. Alright, so the first lens that we have here is the Sigma 35mm 1.4 art lens. This is an L-mount lens, so I own a Lumix S1. That's the camera that I use for all of my most recent music videos. So believe it or not, this is actually my first prime lens. Now I went with a 35mm focal length just because I felt that that was a good focal length to go with for the mid-range shots to very close-up shots for my music videos and for any other cinematics. It was just a really great all-around option. I really like that this lens actually mounts natively to the Lumix S1 or the S1H. It's a nice little reassurance knowing that when I am mounting this camera lens to my camera body, to my Lumix S1, that my camera is then fully weatherproof, which is really nice. I really love the sleek look and design of this Sigma 35mm. Not gonna lie, it's a pretty heavy lens. Generally the Sigma art lenses are gonna be a little on the heavy side. This will actually come in super clutch when you are shooting handheld shots for your music videos, as it adds weight to your camera. So if you guys are a Lumix S1 shooter or S1H, you know that those camera bodies are pretty bulky and pretty heavy to begin with the body alone. And adding a art lens like the Sigma 35mm 1.4, it's just gonna add that extra weight to the camera. And to me personally, I like a heavier camera body and camera setup. Some people don't like it. They like the compact cameras like an A7 III for instance, or A7S II, which is fine. But I personally like just a heavier rig. I like it when there's a little more weight added. Sometimes I'll even add a small rig cage to my Lumix S1 just to add that extra stability when I'm shooting handheld. Now you guys know that I shoot manual focus only, and with that being said, I feel that the focus ring needs to be comfortable. It has a very mechanical feel to it. It's very durable. It's not slipping around everywhere, so you're not going to knock your focus out even when you're in manual focus, or if you're even doing handheld movements, you're not going to accidentally knock your focus out of place, which is a really nice thing. And it's just really easy to lock your focus in when you're shooting in manual. I take this to every single one of my shoots now. It is the first lens that I toss onto my camera when I shoot the first music video scenes of any music video that I've been shooting lately. So I highly recommend the Sigma 35mm art lens. By the way guys, if you guys want to check out any price points on these, so if you guys want to get into like the nitty-gritty specs of everything, I'll leave a link to every single lens in the link in my description so you can check everything out there. Alright guys, so my second favorite lens for music videos is the Tokina 10 to 20mm, or sorry, 11 to 20mm, was 1mm off there, 2.8. So this is a great wide angle lens. So it is a Canon EF mount lens. So with that being said, if you are let's say a GH4 user, a GH5 user, or a Lumix S1 user like I am, you will need an adapter for this lens, or even a Sony user. Now I feel that for music videos you should always just have a go-to wide angle lens. I think that wide angles do come in handy. I'm not saying shoot an entire music video off a wide angle. I'm always swapping between my 35mm and my wide angle throughout a music video set. However, I love how sharp this wide angle is. It's actually a very sharp lens, and it keeps really good focus when you zoom it all the way out to 11mm. It's just a really great versatile lens as a wide angle, and the 20mm is just the perfect amount that you can zoom in on a wide angle. Any more, it gets a little too much. And on top of that, it's a 2.8, so it's actually pretty good for low light shooting as well. For a music video scenario, I will use a wide angle when I'm shooting handheld and more aggressive handheld. So when you see me in my BTS videos where I'm really shaking the camera around everywhere and I'm getting crazy handheld shots, that's when I'm using the 11 to 20mm wide angle lens. But for music videos, if I do choose to rock a handheld shot rather than a gimbal shot, chances are I'm going to toss the wide angle lens on the camera and turn my in-body stabilization off. I personally just love the look of a raw wide angle shot with no in-body stabilization, zoomed all the way out at 11mm. I just think it's a very cool looking shot, especially when you're shooting handheld. It is still a really good wide angle lens to use on a gimbal, so keep that in mind as well. It's not just a handheld lens, it also looks really good on a gimbal as well. Alright, so the next lens is the OG in the video game. It's the Sigma 18 to 35mm 1.8. This is an amazing lens. This used to be my primary lens for, I'm talking 3 years straight, up until I upgraded to the Sigma 35mm 1.4. This is a 1.8 lens, so if you are using this on a GH5 or a GH4, they call it a low light killer because you can get down to 1.1 aperture, which is like mind-blowing, but even at 1.8 on a full-frame camera like the S1 or S1H, it's still a great low-light lens. The fact that you can get to 18mm gives not really a wide-angle shot, but it's just wide enough to almost be like too wide of a wide-angle shot. So I don't know if that's the best way to explain it, but punching into 35mm on this too gives you a nice, beautiful 35mm shot. It's still a pretty damn sharp lens. So Sigma lenses are pretty sharp, and the fact that this is a zoom lens and still really sharp is just awesome. It's even a really good photography lens too if you guys are into photography, but for music videos specifically, I used to love using this on a DJI Ronin M, because as you can see, I'm zooming the lens in and out, and the lens isn't actually like, it doesn't have like an external zoom, I guess. So all the zoom is internal, meaning that this is a really good lens to use on a DJI Ronin M. If you maybe have a camera, you're looking at upgrading a lens, and you do have a gimbal, I would honestly highly recommend the 18-35 Sigma lens, just because of the internal zoom on here, because you can punch the zoom out to 18mm all the way wide and then punch it back into 35, and you won't have to rebalance your gimbal. I've never had to rebalance my gimbal, and I've never had motor shake or anything like that when I am using the Sigma 18-35mm 1.8. I mean, I've literally used this lens on like probably 75 music videos. I'm not even kidding, guys. Like I said, I like to more so use my prime lens for my music video sets now going forward, but this is like an OG. I will never get rid of this lens. I will always have an 18-35mm in my gear arsenal, just because it is such an amazing music video lens, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And honestly, guys, I also love that our entire online shop is actually 50% off right now. We have filmmaking products on there, such as 1-hour consult calls with myself, RoyalZProduction. We have a 3-month filmmaker mentorship program. We have LUT packs, preset packs, raw 4K files, so you guys can actually practice editing car videos and music videos all on your own without even having to shoot the footage. So if you guys want to take advantage of this 50% off on my entire online store, I'll leave a link in the description as well as in the comments section of this video. Alright guys, get right back into this review. Alright, so the next lens that I personally love and take onto all my music video sets is the Canon 24-70 2.8. So this is a full frame lens, so if you do have a full frame camera, you can use full frame on your camera when using this lens. I don't recommend using this on a gimbal, as it does have the external zoom. I've tried using it on a gimbal, and when I'm punched all the way out at 24 and I balance my Ronin or whatever gimbal I'm using, the second I punch out to 70mm, it just gets really crazy and wonky, and you have to readjust all the settings on the gimbal. So I don't recommend using this on a gimbal. However, I do recommend you using this lens for your close-up handheld shots. So a lot of my close-up shots where, you know, I don't really want to be like all up in the artist's face like this when I'm shooting off a 35mm lens, I'll actually use the 24-70. It's a really good zoom lens when you're in a controlled environment, and not only that, but it's very, very sharp. But it's just a really good zoom lens, and I highly, highly recommend this. If you're a photographer, this is also a really good portrait lens as well. If I'm ever shooting artists performing live, this is also a really good lens to use for that as well, just because you can get relatively wide at 24, but you can get a pretty punched in shot at 70mm, especially if you switch into APS-C mode. So this is a really clutch lens to use for that type of shooting as well. Alright, so I thought I would toss this in as a little bonus. I haven't used this lens too much, but I highly, highly recommend it because it's just awesome. This is the Panasonic 12-35mm 2.8 lens. So as you can see, it's a tiny lens. So this is actually a native Panasonic lens. So let's say you shoot off of a Lumix G7, a Lumix GH4, Lumix GH5. This is a great lens to use as it adapts natively to your GH4, GH5, or any micro four thirds Lumix camera. And the 12-35mm focal length is like awesome. It really reminds me of the Sigma 18-35. I mean, it's a lot smaller, but I mean, it's 2.8 aperture, so it's pretty good for low light. And if you're shooting off a GH4, GH5, or G7, you know, you want to get as low aperture as you can, as the low light capabilities on those cameras aren't really the best. However, a big plus on this is the fact that it has the stabilization on the lens. So when you pair the stabilization on the lens with the in-body stabilization on, let's say, a GH5, which already has amazing in-body stabilization, you're gonna have a handheld beast for music videos and handheld beast in general. The only time I've really used this lens was actually to vlog on the GH4 and GH5, as well as using it as a second camera for interviews. So I'll just use the 12-35, toss it on my GH5, and that's my second interview camera that I'll use. I have shot one cinematic with this camera actually. It was a car video, and honestly, I was extremely blown away by this. It was by far my best car video to date. This lens is just so sharp. I could tell you that I shot this video off of a Lumix S1 or Lumix S1H, and people would 100% believe me because this video just turned out so dope, and I was just extremely blown away with what this camera lens could do. This Panasonic 12-35 is an absolute beast, so if you are a Lumix GH4, GH5 user, or G7 user, and you don't want to invest in that speed booster with a lens on top of that, as it can get a little pricey, and you just want to jump to a native Panasonic lens, the Panasonic 12-35mm 2.8 is the lens for you. I guarantee you guys you can get super cinematic shots with this. Highly recommend this camera lens for music videos or any type of creative shooting or any shooting in general. This thing is an absolute beast. Alright guys, so that's a wrap for my favorite lenses to use for music videos. Again, if you want to check out the price point on all these lenses, you can check that in the link in the description. I left every single one there. I feel that these lenses have helped me so much for my music video shooting, as it's given me just a wide range of focal lengths to work with when I'm on set. So yeah, honestly, I try to pack light. Usually only have 1, 2, 3 lenses on my sets at all times. I don't really think I need more than that. I'm pretty comfortable with this loadout. If you guys actually want to comment down below and let me know what type of lenses that you use on your music video sets, whether it's the same ones that I use or maybe different ones. I'd be super interested in reading what your guys' lens loadouts are from music videos. Alright, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't subscribe to the channel, consider doing so, as I post a lot of filmmaking tips and tricks and very in-depth behind the scenes videos on my film sets. If you do subscribe to the channel, consider clicking that notification bell so you can keep up to date with whenever I post new content. So with all that being said guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.
Cut it all right around, get high with you. You want love and I die with you.